The Deep South's oldest rivalry takes center stage yet again. It's Georgia and Auburn down on the plains. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Tigers and the Dogs. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like and subscribe, guys. We are on the race to 30,000 subs on YouTube. We can't do it without your love and support. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. The Auburn Tigers and Georgia Bulldogs get set to do battle Saturday night at Jordan-Hare Stadium, a place where the unthinkable can occur. Will it be the big upset that Hugh Freeze and company are looking for, or will the Dogs walk out of the plains yet again with a win under their belt? It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry, and we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. Hello, friends. I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, Cole Thompson. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Really excited to talk about this matchup with you.
This is a weird game, Chris Phillips. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the oldest rivalries in college football. It's one of the games to where you'll see topsy-turvy stuff get out of control, but you look at the line of this game, you look at the over-under in this game, and you look at Auburn coming off a bye week, Georgia finding a way to get the cover and be able to hit the over against Kentucky, yet still we're wondering, is this the breakout moment for which side and who's going to be the star of the game? A lot of crazy stuff has happened in the world of college football in the month of October. Are we going to see something crazy happen down Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday night?
Yeah, Barry, what's so interesting about this, Auburn coming off of the bye week, talking to some folks throughout this week, it's interesting. You talk about the pressure on Hugh Freeze specifically as Auburn sits at 3-2 at this point in the season. He's the odds-on favorite, Bear, to be the next head coach fired. So you talk about the pressure from that perspective. Of course, the Georgia side, SEC championship, college football playoff in their sights. Probably going to have to walk a tightrope from here on out after you lost to Alabama just a few weeks ago. Like you mentioned, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Bear, a rivalry we all grew up with as SEC football fans. Saturday night, 6:30 Central Time kickoff on ABC there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. You mentioned the line, Bear. It is interesting. Georgia, just a 3.5-point favorite in this game. The over-under is set at 45.5. That, of course, coming via our friends over at FanDuel. Georgia leads the all-time series 65, 56, and 8. And the last meeting, Bear, of course, last year, Georgia won that game by a final score of 31-13. So, as we dive in this game, you're right. It is such a fascinating contest. I'll admit, well before we get into our predictions and our picks, I have wrestled with this game, Bear. I've gone back and forth with this game. I really have, because I think what's so fascinating, Georgia has not lost to Auburn since the 2017 season, which they actually got their revenge later in that year, you might recall, when they went to the SEC championship and just straight up mollywopped the Tigers in Atlanta. This is another rival for Georgia, Bear. Coming into the season, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, and Georgia Tech, all rivals that Georgia had historically long winning streaks against. And I said coming in, I felt really confident that one of those was going to come to an end this season. Is it going to be this one? You'll have to wait later in the show. You'll have to wait later in this segment, and you'll find out my thoughts. But either way, Bear, the dynamic of this rivalry, expect the unexpected, especially when this game is taking place down in the plains.
It's an Auburn special on Saturday night at Jordan-Hare Stadium. They're going to get somebody because it happens every single year. We watched it last season, Texas A&M, 4 overtimes. How many times has the Iron Bowl gone down to a fight in the finish? What about this matchup? Again, there's a lot of things that you look at and say, well, Auburn right now, they don't have a quarterback situation that's really promising. They constantly are hurting themselves when it comes to passing attack. And then just one game, everything seems to go their way. And it happens usually against an opponent that is very high standing in the polls. They're very much in the conversation to go to the college football playoff. And Georgia's one of those teams this year to where you could feel like if they do not come and show their best case of interest, and you get Gunnar Stockton to feel a little bit of the pressure, he's not able to get the rushing attack going, and you force him to throw it downfield, maybe get a couple of turnovers, short field territory, settle on some field goals, and put yourself in a position to where you get the upset. Like that is something that is very possible. The voodoo magic and the shaman man that seeps right below Jordan-Hare likes to show his way on a Saturday night. And it usually happens right after about week 6 on. Here we are in week 7. You got 2 more opportunities to have the voodoo kind of seep on up. The Iron Bowl, Old South, Deep South's oldest rivalry. Like, you have these matchups to where absolutely can happen. My question is, who faults first? Is it the passing attack and the inability to get anything moving on the offensive side for Auburn? Or is it potentially Georgia having to turn to its next punch, which is Gunnar Stockton? You're going to have to win this football game. You're going to have to show us what you did out in Neyland Stadium was not a one-hit wonder.
Auburn staring down the barrel bear of losing their 3rd straight contest. Obviously, again, sitting at 3-2 overall. Losses at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M in their last 2 games, coming off the bye. But again, you get this one at home, at night. We've seen some really wild and wacky matchups between these 2 teams down on the plains, especially in night games. I think you bring up a great point, Bear, and obviously we're always talking quarterbacks when it comes to big matchups like this, but Gunnar Stockton and Jackson Arnold. And I think for Arnold, you know, he needs his offensive line to play well. That's probably my biggest question for Auburn. Are they going to be able to hold up against Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann? I think they're going to send the pressure. I think they're going to want to force the issue, force Jackson Arnold into some mistakes. You've got the weapons on the outside. That's something, Bear, I think is really interesting in this game. I think Auburn can hit some explosives. You know, being there in person in Athens, watching Georgia take on Alabama, there were a lot of opportunities that Alabama was able to take advantage of. You know, you had a deep shot to Ryan Williams that he dropped. I think the opportunities for the explosives will be there if the offensive line can hold up ever so slightly. Also, we've seen Georgia be susceptible to 3rd downs, right? I mean, we saw Alabama do that, start the game 8 for 8, converting their 3rd downs. They ended up at well over 50% in that contest. If you're able to do that, if you're Auburn, sustain drives, obviously you're going to have a great chance to win this football game. So Jackson Arnold getting the best version of him. And then you're right, Bear. I think for Gunnar Stockton, this game is such a huge opportunity because I still think people are kind of, even myself included to a degree, I like Gunnar Stockton, but you're kind of looking at him like, is this really the guy that's going to take the Dogs all the way? Like, is he that guy? For example, Bear, in this game, if you have to ask Gunnar Stockton to go win the football game, can he do it? And I think he will have an opportunity to prove that. They're going to lean on Chauncey Bowens, Nate Frazier, the running game. You know, it's going to be a lot of probably screen ball with Mike Bobo, the extended handoff, whatever. But there's going to be, and I want to see if Georgia can execute a little bit higher level offensively better than what they've been doing, because we love to put it, everybody loves to put it on Mike Bobo.
Yeah.
If you look back at some of those plays in the Bama game and you look back at some plays, I saw some Georgia accounts breaking down film from the Kentucky game. Mike Bobo is scheming guys open. They're just either not hitting them, they're not finishing the play, they're not making the catch. So there's still some, and the good news is, listen, you've got a lot of time to fix these things, but there's still some loose ends in that offense. Can Georgia execute at a higher level when they have to? And I think they are going to have to on Saturday night.
I mean, Taylon Taylor's a catch away from making history in Athens and winning against Alabama. I mean, like, that was a great scheme-up play that you look at from Mike Bobo and just say, come down with the football 11, and you're a hero in Athens at this point, a freshman hero. You know what's interesting about Gunnar Stockton? He's like the secondary option for fast food. And what I mean by that is, you want something. You're a big Raising Cane's fan. You want to go get Raising Cane's. There's no one around for about 30 miles. You can't wait that long. So you know what? You sell for Whataburger. Like, it's fine. It hits. It's good food. But you know that you want something a little bit more. That's Gunnar Stockton at this point when it comes to Georgia fans. You want something more. He's a good quarterback that feels like he can get the job done. But you know what? There's a limitation to it. It's like, can we get something a little bit better? Well, prove that actually Whataburger is the first choice and Raising Cane's is second. Like, do that this upcoming matchup. What's really interesting is that Auburn is exceptional on 3rd down, especially defensively. They currently rank 12th in the nation when it comes to opponents' 3rd down conversions. They've only allowed 19 3rd down conversions for a 26.7% success rate. So this is an opportunity for Auburn's defensive line to really get after Mike Bobo's play calling, take away the screen element, take away the rushing attack, and then force guys like Colby Young and Zachariah Branch and Taylon Taylor and Oscar Delp. And we could throw in London Humphreys and we could throw in Dylan Bell for that instance to work that intermediate part of the field, the 14, 18-yard situations to where you're connecting and you're getting first downs with the arm potential of what Gunnar Stockton is. He's actually forced to have to worry about getting balls across the middle of the field against a pretty good defense overall when you think about it. You brought up Jackson Arnold. The thing that you worry about with Jackson Arnold, the offensive line is a problem. But Jackson Arnold, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I gave him a lot of benefit of the doubt in the matchup against Oklahoma because Oklahoma's defensive line got after him. They beat the bully out of the offensive line for Auburn. But you look back at some of those plays, Jackson Arnold held the football for far too long. And you go back and watch that Texas A&M game where there's 5 sacks allowed and 14 pressures. How many times are you waiting just, dude, get the ball out of bounds? Hit the reset button at this point. Just get back to 3rd and 6 versus 3rd and 16 because if you're waiting for a wide receiver to get on open. Did you spend the bye week making sure that the pressure was eluding on either side? And if you're Arnold, you're just throwing it away and saying, we're going to hit reset and we're going to get back to square one. Because the problem right now that I have with Arnold is, yes, we can talk about the deep ball not being there efficiently. We can talk about him not being able to connect with guys like Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and build that rapport in the passing game. But you're also seeing the negative plays be hurt because if he just refuses to let go of the football and go back to square one. And that's something that I think Georgia can take advantage of the way that Texas A&M did, the way that Oklahoma did. The way that we saw even Baylor at times when they were able to get pressure on Jackson Arnold to be able to get after him. Jackson Arnold can also step up into the pocket and run. So do we have those moments where he realizes, hey, wide receiver's not getting open. I just got to take off and get 3 or 4 yards. Like those are some things that we're going to have to see, I think, from 11 in this matchup, especially at home, if you want to stand a chance in this game. Because Georgia's defense, bottom line, it's Glenn Schumann and it's Kirby Smart running the show. They're going to get after him. They're going to be able to get after this offensive line. You got to be able to find a way to get positive yards because the last thing you want to do if you're Auburn is your defense is once again pitching a shutout or they're doing a good job of forcing teams to live in 3rd and long. And you, unfortunately, are now looking at 3rd and 1 and it becomes 4th and 9 because if you take an 8-yard sack. Like those are just some things that you got to work on if you're Arnold. And I don't know if it's correctable. So do you have a game plan to where, hey, there comes a moment where we have got to get something moving offensively? Deuce Knight, step on up to the plate. It's got to become a conversation at some point.
Bear, certainly this is far from the first time this question has been asked, so forgive me, but I must bring it up yet again. Does it feel like this is now or never for Hugh Freeze?
Yeah.
Does it kind of like for the Hugh Freeze tenure? Damn be the opponent. I don't think Auburn fans care at this point. Like you are sitting at 3-2. If your season is going to catch a spark and turn around and be the season that I think most Auburn fans believed it could be and were expecting it to be, because of the position you've put yourself in, Bear, this feels like a game you need to win. I mean, flat out. Like, if you can get to October 25th at Arkansas, you're sitting at 3-2. If you can get to 5-2, which if you can beat Georgia, you can beat Mizzou at home the next week. I believe that, right? The rest of the slate, and I think 5-2 was just, that was the hope and the expectation, that first 7, because the back half of your schedule sets up really well. Yeah. Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer, obviously Alabama end of season will be a big one, will be the big one, really. And heck, I mean, even Missouri, Bear, talking to Auburn folks, they believe, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's a game they should win. Flat out, they're a better program than Mizzou. That's what they believe. They should beat Missouri, especially at home. So this Georgia game really serves as like, the season's going one way or the other. This is the fork in the road right here for Auburn's 2025 football season. And this might be the fork in the road for the Hugh Freeze tenure at Auburn.
The thing that worries me is that, again, and I brought this up multiple times because I said that Hugh Freeze was going to get fired after the Vanderbilt game. You have to look at it this perspective. All these players that you've invested a lot of NIL funds into, all these players that you think are supposed to be a part of the long-term plan with Auburn, as much as you want them to be here, and I understand that Hugh Freeze was the one to bring them here, they're not being properly developed. They're not transitioning into players that eventually are going to hear their names called by NFL draft gurus and find themselves on Sundays making a massive Oh no, man! It's actually
Bless
breaking my
you.
heart. It's breaking my heart to have this conversation. Making a massive impact the way that we're supposed to, but at the same time, you got to be able to sell yourself on. We know that we deserve better than this, and Auburn for years at this point hasn't been able to get back there. How many losing seasons are we on now out in the Plains? How many years are we talking about Auburn failing to be able to get multiple signature wins and compete for a top 25 bid at the end of the year? Like, it's not about winning just this football game. It's about seeing that Hugh Freeze is the right guy. And if he's not the right guy, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I told you all that he wasn't at the start of the year. And now it's like, oh, he has to be the right. Well, we want him gone. It's like, yeah, you want him gone, but are you okay with watching all this talent go elsewhere? Like Cam Coleman next year suiting up for Alabama, or Eric Singleton being off to the NFL, Jeremiah Cobb playing for South Carolina. Like, you okay with that conversation? Because if you expect more from what your staff is, I don't think you need to win this game. I think you need to show that there is enough life in this offense. There's enough life in the play calling. There's enough life for this team that can bring this to a 4-quarter battle. Because the last thing you want to do is go into a bye week after losing back-to-back road games, not having enough life offensively to be able to get anything going, have a play caller that is still running the same offense that he has run the last 2 years, and lo and behold, it's a blowout in your backyard. Like, that's where I think that you really are going to lose the fan base. If somehow you see Georgia win on a walk-off game-winning field goal, I'm not saying you feel great about it, but you can at least understand, okay, there's things we need to correct, but we took Georgia down to the wire. If you get blown out at home, and it's because, once again, the play calling of your head coach, the evaluator of the talent, the guy who says, I know offense, I know quarterback, and both the offense and the quarterback are failing to deliver, and he still is acting like that he knows what he's talking about, it just feels like you lose everything there. And so this is a really big game, I think, for the offensive side. I think it's a really big game for Hugh Freeze as a play caller to be able to get Kirby Smart to feel uncomfortable in his element, the way that Ryan Grubb made him feel uncomfortable a couple weeks ago. If that doesn't show on up, that's a way to go ahead and guarantee the fan base is done with you. They don't even care about who walks out the door when it comes to the transfer portal. They would just much rather hit reset, start fresh, and get right back to square one like they've been doing for the last several years, because if they know what the expectations is out on the Plains.
Bear, it goes without saying, a fast start for Georgia is a must. I don't think you can afford to come out of the gate slow. And it was better against Kentucky, obviously, but you cannot afford to come out of the gate slow, get down early in this environment. You're only going to add fuel to the fire. And I think once you get down, it'll be really, really difficult to dig yourself out of that hole. Bear, think about the last time Georgia was down in the Plains back in 2023. That was a game where they had to come from behind. This one, though, is at night. So it'll be even amplified when it comes to the atmosphere and the challenges they will be facing. Again, you got to get off to a quick start. And on the flip side for Auburn, if you can get off to that fast start, I think the opportunities down the field, they're going to be there. I really do. I think you've got the weapons on the outside. You're going to need to have balance, obviously, with Cobb at the running back position and find some sort of run game. But if you can, Bear, you named off all those great weapons on the outside. I think there's going to be an opportunity for Auburn to hit some big explosives down the field, do it early, get that crowd in it. And if you can do that, you feel pretty good about your chances if you're War Eagle. So,
but do you trust Jackson Arnold is the main question. Because of, again, you look back at that game against Oklahoma. How many times did Cam Coleman win off the line of scrimmage and it was an overthrow?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about 3 or 4 plays, as much as we can talk about the things that went wrong when it came to the officiating. But there were 3 or 4 throws to where if Arnold connects with Cam Coleman, they win that football game by 14. I mean, like, that's where we're at because of the explosives are there. Do you have the quarterback? Here's what I wonder when it comes to Georgia. Can Georgia do what it did to open up the second half against Tennessee efficiently when they know the passing attack's not working? So let's say that, again, you're watching as Gunnar Stockton's not able to build a rapport when it comes to 18-yard passes downfield to Dylan Bell, Oscar Dell. Zachariah Branch is not getting anything moving when it comes to the screen game. Okay. Can Mike Bobo get into his bag of tricks to where Chauncey Bowens, where Josh McCray, where Nate Frazier, Gunnar Stockton even, you're running it and you're tiring down this Auburn defensive line and you're taking 6-7 minutes off the clock and you're going 14, 15, 16 play drive that then makes Auburn have to feel like we got to be able to strike fast But more specifically, we got to be able to play with a tempo that gets the defense off the field. So that way this offense doesn't have time to catch its breath. That way, maybe we can get them jumping. Like, that's where I'm looking at it. You're right when it comes to a fast start, but I also think playing the time of possession game, given as few opportunities for Auburn's defense to really be able to make any adjustments or switches, and just that you're running the football. You're forcing them to say, make us throw it downfield. Make us go ahead and compete with your secondary. I think that that's another way to where you just tire out the front seven. And then when you get them to start corralling in the box, and DJ Durkin's like, hey, let's go ahead and send 8. Let's send a blitzer from the safety spot. Okay, there's the middle of the field. There's a Taylor. Let's go ahead and find it for a 50-yard blast downfield. There's London Humphreys. Let's go ahead and get that 4th down conversion like we did against Tennessee and Rocky Top. Those are the things I think could really work in favor of Georgia in this matchup.
They're going to be a fun one Saturday night on the Plains. That being said, let's lock in our picks. Let's lock in our predictions. Would you like the honors, or you want me to go
I'll go first. I think that, again, this is one of those games where everything is on the table and nothing will surprise me. If you told me that Auburn makes this a 4-quarter battle and that we're watching as Jackson Arnold has an opportunity to put the nail in the coffin and he finds Malcolm Simmons or an Eric Singleton on a 7-yard slant pattern and he's just off to the races, it won't shock me because of, again, the voodoo magic of Jordan-Hare Stadium on a Saturday night somehow finds its way to pull the wool over a top 25 opponent's eyes. It happens every single year, and this might be that game. If you also tell me that Georgia wins by double digits and Hugh Freeze is basically told you have the rest of the season to kind of figure out what your next plan is, but it's not here at Auburn, I could buy into that. The things that I wonder about in this game that I think truly will decide it is, number one, time of possession. Whoever wins that battle, I think is going to have a very good shot of coming out on top. Number two, I think Georgia's ability to force Jackson Arnold to throw it on 3rd down. Not live in 3rd down, but throw it on 3rd down. Because remember, we watched as Ty Simpson was able to go 8 for 8, and Alabama's offense was able to move the football emphatically on 3rd down. But mostly it was through the air. Ty Simpson's been surgical. Jackson Arnold has basically cost you a couple games because of some throws on 3rd down. You force him to throw it on 3rd down. Take away the rushing attack. And number 3, the explosive plays on both sides. You may only get 2 or 3. Like, you truly may only get 1 or 2 50-yard blasts downfield from Georgia's standpoint or for Auburn's standpoint. Which one connects more? That, to me, is ultimately what's going to decide this matchup. I think Auburn has an opportunity to really make a statement. I think Georgia has an opportunity to prove why, once again, it's just Alabama. We're so the same Georgia. And by the way, we have a quarterback that fits our narrative and has won us national titles before. He's more Stetson Bennett than he is actually JT Daniels, and we're okay with that. I just am not doubting Kirby Smart. And at this point, what it comes down to is until you prove it otherwise, Hugh Freeze, that changes are coming to your offensive personnel, and you're not running the same stuff that you ran in 2022 when you got hired at Auburn. I can't doubt Kirby. And again, it's not doubting Kirby when it's facing off against Alabama. It's doubting what has been the narrative surrounding this event. Georgia does not lose to Auburn. They haven't lost since 2017. And they usually win emphatically because of it. I get that it's at Jordan-Hare. I get this is going to be a night game. I get that crazy things can happen out there. But I haven't seen anything from Jackson Arnold that makes me feel like that he has improved enough to where I'm buying more stock in him. And I certainly have seen enough to where I believe that Georgia can have a secondary punch if the passing attack is not working, and they can just boa constrictor their way into a win. So I'm taking Georgia to win. I'm taking Georgia to cover. I'm going to go with the final of 28 to 17. I think that you will see just enough in the 4th quarter where you pull away and it's a double-digit victory out on the Plains.
Bear, you make a lot of great points. You make tons of great points about not doubting Kirby Smart, not doubting Georgia, the history of the series, the history of Deep South's oldest rivalry, what they've done since he's gotten there. You also make great points about Jordan-Hare at night and the chaos and the madness and what can happen in this place. And like I said, coming in the season, Georgia's got all these historically long win streaks against their rivals. At some point, you're going to lose to somebody. Somebody's going to get you, right? Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, Georgia Tech. You already beat Tennessee. Florida's not very good. Georgia Tech's, we'll see.
Neutral field too.
Neutral field as well. That leaves us with Auburn. That leaves us with this Auburn game. But I'm not doubting Kirby Smart either. I just can't do it. I've been wrestling with this pick, Bear. Literally last night, just hanging out at my place, I was like, I think I'm going to pick Auburn. I think Auburn, because you're right. It all makes sense. Night game in Jordan-Hare. Like, the stars feel like they're kind of aligned for it. Like, this is the perfect recipe in college football for the home team. Desperate, they backs against the wall type of feeling. Here comes their rival. They pull the big upset. But it's like, as badly as I want to go that direction, you're right, Bear, I cannot trust Hugh Freeze here. I just can't do it. Certainly not against Kirby Smart. I just can't. I think it's a close game. I think it's a bit of a wacky game. I like Auburn to cover 3.5. I do. But I just think somehow, some way, maybe similar to what happened in Knoxville. I don't know that it'll take overtime. Maybe it will. I just think somehow, some way, Georgia's going to go in there and they're going to rip Auburn's hearts out of their chest and stomp on it at the 50 as they walk out with another win. Give me Dogs 27, Auburn 24. Stars are aligned for a big upset. But from what I've seen from Auburn offensively, to your point, this point in the season, even with some of the loose ends that Georgia has on the offensive side, they thrive in moments like this. They're built for moments like this. Like, we just saw them a few weeks ago go into Rocky Top, do this very thing. And I know Jordan-Hare will be just as good an atmosphere. Heck, maybe it'll be better because it's at night. But you can't just solely pick a team because a game's at home at night. Does Auburn have the horses to go out, line up 60 minutes, and go beat Georgia? Maybe, but I haven't seen anything to this point that tells me that they do. And I certainly haven't seen anything to believe they have the coaching and the leadership that tells me that they're going to go out there and beat the Georgia Bulldogs. So, Barrett, it sets up beautifully. Stars align. I just cannot go with the upset here. Give me Georgia 27, Auburn 24. Again, it like you said, it makes sense in your head when you think about it. It does. But then it's like, am I really going to take Hugh Freeze to beat Kirby Smart? I can't do it. I really can't do it. So we're both going with the Dogs, which, I think is a good pick. I don't think it's a bad pick in this game. If you pick Auburn, you're not crazy, but I don't know, man. I just can't. I just can't do it.
I'll tell you what Auburn has to do that Tennessee couldn't. Tennessee got up 21-7 going into the second quarter, and they never were able to get that knockout punch that kept Georgia down. If Auburn's able to jump out to a substantial lead, 21-0, 17-0, even I would say 14-0, you got to be able to get that sucker punch that knocks them out. Because of the second that you allow Georgia to start getting a little bit of momentum, that's where you know you were in trouble. And you and I both said Tennessee was inches away from getting that knockout punch. Just couldn't get it done. That was what was the moment that turned in favor of Georgia. Everything's lined up for the upset. The part about the upset that comes when you take on a giant, you got to be able to get that sucker punch. If you don't do it, they'll find a way to win. Do not be Oberyn Martell taking on the Mountain. Be literally the Clegane Bowl and be the Hound killing the Mountain. Do that if you gotta. And for those of you at Game of Thrones, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Bear, if you're going to beat Georgia, you got to beat them. They're not going to give it to you. They're not going to fold. Guys, love to hear your thoughts. Again, Bear and I both going with the Georgia Bulldogs to go into Jordan-Hare and get the win. Agree with us, disagree. Who you taking Saturday night on the Plains in the Deep South's oldest rivalry? Guys, it's going to do it all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines. Whatever your style, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action. today. Guys, once again, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out where we get your podcasts all across all your favorite social media platforms and our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all on the other side.